Hello and welcome to the Academic Success Workshop, Wizard of Time, the Art of Time Management, hosted by the Student Academic Resource Center here at UCF. Originally, this workshop was facilitated by Carly Hitchcock. However, for the online YouTube version, it will be facilitated by me, Madison Verdone, the graduate assistant for our academic consultation and engagement program here at the Student Academic Resource Center. So before going into time management and organization, I wanted to talk a little bit about SARC services. So the main services that we provide include peer tutoring, supplemental instruction, academic consultation and engagement, formerly known as academic coaching and engagement, as well as academic success workshops and online support. For the peer tutoring and supplemental instruction, these are group-based sessions in which you don't need to schedule an appointment for. We have our schedules on our website as well as all our social medias at UCF SARC, in which you can see when these sessions are being held as well as the location. And then you can just simply show up and drop by to get that peer tutoring or supplemental instruction. These courses are mainly STEM focused, so these are the ones that have the highest drop, fail, and withdrawal rates, so that's where we focus our efforts towards for the peer tutoring and supplemental instruction. Then we also have the academic coaching and engagement program, which is now known as the academic consultation and engagement program. So this is one-on-one sessions that you would have to book an appointment for with one of our peer consultants, in which you would go over college successful strategies for time management, note-taking, textbook reading, organization skills, and studying to become more successful in your college career. Then we also have academic success workshops that are 6 times through the fall semester, and then 6 times for the spring semester, and 3 times for the summer semester. So these have a variety of topics, such as today's, which is time management. And then if you look to our online website, we have a variety of resources and further information about SARC here at UCF. If you type in UCF SARC into Google, we will be the first link that pops up if you want more information. So just to review the goals of the presentation here today, first, we will be looking to understand the pros and cons of different time management systems, followed by evaluating how effective our current use of time management is, and then finally developing a more effective time management system for the semester. So just a general reflection question to consider. What are some of the benefits of developing and implementing effective time management strategies, especially related to your college career? So when we ask this question, there's a variety of responses that people may have. So these are some more common ones that are essentially the benefits of having an effective time management system. So the number one is increasing productivity. If you have an effective time management system, you're going to be able to stick to your goals and what you need to do throughout the day more effectively. So you are more productive throughout the day. And then following that, getting that quality of work through. Then it also will develop a positive reputation for you that follows you throughout your college career and your general career moving forward in your life, as you'll be known as someone who is able to be on time, conduct their work productively, and finish their assignments and goals in a time-effective manner. It also gives more confidence for yourself and decreases your stress. And you're also creating clear daily goals that you need to attack for the day. You're also able to improve your focus this way, as you know exactly what you need to get done and at what time, improves your self-discipline, and streamlines your decision-making process. Then once you implement this, you just have more time for yourself and to establish and maintain that work-life balance that is essential throughout your college career as well as your life moving forward. So given that, the next reflection question to think about is, what are some of the obstacles that students may face when they're managing this college schedule? So when you're entering college, it comes with all these new challenges, whether it's your first semester or your last semester. So you're always going to have an increased course load. So as we move up and take those more difficult classes, the difficulty hence increases, and you'll be needing to spend more time dedicated to it, and it's just an increased mental load. You also just have increased responsibilities in general. So in college, you have to stay organized and self-disciplined since we don't have external factors keeping us focused as we may have had in high school. Then you also need to take care of your basic needs as an individual and balance your work, school, family, and social life. Then there's also the expenses that you now have to take on moving into adulthood and general cost of living. So you're having all of these new challenges, which makes it more difficult to manage your time since you are having that added stress of classes and studying. There's also heavier consequences associated with the decisions that you're making in college, since it is kind of that footstep into your adult life. And this is also the time that we're establishing a foundation for our future and what our career wants to be and what our life wants to look moving forward. So that is a lot of added pressure that we have on our plates now. So one of the common things that we hear from students is that there's not enough time in a week to get everything they need done. So if we're assessing this in a mathematical way, we can take that 168 hours that occurs in 1 week. So we'll say 16 hours of that would be in class. So that would be about a typical class load. And then you're going to need about 56 hours for sleeping. So you get the 8 hours a night, as well as 21 hours for eating. So we still have 75 hours that we can use for a part-time job or relaxing and socializing. So we'll put about 45 hours into that. So that's still 30 hours left for studying specifically. So if you have 5 courses, you can divide that by 5, and you have 6 hours a week that you can study for each course. So using that method, you can break it down to make it seem a lot more simple, and you can see where you can fit those hours into study. So taking that into account, some people still have poor time management. So they may realize that, hey, I do have the time, but I simply just don't use it properly. So one of the major reasons is that they simply never learn the skills. So there isn't necessarily a class that's taught on how to manage our time. So if we're not taught, it's difficult to learn, especially if we're not putting in the work to look it up on our own or attend workshops like these. And then another one is that individuals will prioritize things ineffectively. So this will go into a little bit later into the workshop. However, it's essentially the notion that we're putting other activities ahead of maybe some more important ones because that's what we're prioritizing inappropriately. Then there's poor time estimation, which is simply just not allotting enough time for certain activities, as well as multitasking and distractions, which kind of go hand in hand with each other. A lot of people also have difficulty focusing for long periods of time, which could really harm our time management skills. And if we don't have specific goals, it can be difficult to use our time effectively. People also will have unrealistic expectations for everything they need to get done in a day. And a lot of us struggle with perfectionism. So wanting to put our entire, wanting to put everything we have into one assignment. But sometimes that might not be realistic if we have multiple assignments that need to be done. And then also, for all the reasons I mentioned earlier, we're having a lot of stress and anxiety during this time as well. And sometimes we can face low motivation and even burnout when we're taking this all together. So one of the biggest time management tips I would give is prioritization. So essentially, what does prioritization means? It means focusing on what tasks need to be done first and urgently, so we can figure out how to order our tasks and what to do. So one way that this can be done is through the Eisenhower matrix. So we see the top categories as urgent and non-urgent, and then the sides are non-important and important. So this can be very helpful for when you're trying to prioritize what you need to do in the day. So if we look at this top left category, we see our due tasks. These are tasks with specific deadlines and specific consequences if we do not meet those deadlines. So an example of this could be something like taking a test. The test is at 5 p.m. on Tuesday. If I don't take this test, I will most likely fail it and won't be able to succeed in the course as well as if I took the test. So this is an urgent and important thing that must be done. The next one is our top right, which is not urgent, but it's still important. So this is tasks that have unclear deadlines, but it will contribute to long-term success. So one thing I can think of for this is maybe getting an internship in college. There's not necessarily a specific deadline for this all the time. However, it would be very helpful to contribute to that long-term success as it gives necessary experience and adds to your resume. However, we don't necessarily need to get that done right this second. So this would be a schedule. We can schedule specific times throughout our week to look into internship sites, reach out to businesses or companies, and make those relationships with them, attend different activities around campus that might build those connections. So that's a schedule category. Then we also have urgent and not important. So this would be a delegate category. That's bottom left. So these are tasks that must get done, but they don't require your specific skill set. So one of these things could be something like folding laundry. If you have to fold your laundry, and it's not necessarily a task that requires your specific skill set, this could be dedicated to someone such as your partner, or if you don't have anyone to delegate this to, you could instead put this in a different schedule category. And then another one is deleted. So these are the bottom right, and these are just distractions and unnecessary tasks. So they're not important, they're not urgent, so it's nothing we necessarily need to get done. One of these things I would consider is phone time. Now, obviously, we all like being on our phone, and it does add some, joy to our lives, and is kind of something we're not going to be giving up. However, something we can do is maybe delete the amount of time that we spend on our phones. So something we typically do in the in-person format of this is this activity where we figure out what our habits are. So making a list of everything we typically do throughout the week and prioritize it based on this Eisenhower matrix, and along with estimating how much time each item would take. So one thing is to think about what is important to you and not necessarily what you think the ideal student's priorities is. Very much take into account what you want to be doing. So another thing is to reflect. What are the top priorities on this list? Does your current schedule align with your priorities? What do you want to spend more time on? And what could you use to cut back? So I would say take a moment now to make that list, figure out your priorities here based on you specifically, not an ideal student, and reflect on these following questions. So another thing is setting SMART goals. So SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So when we set SMART goals, we're able to actually achieve these goals. So I encourage people to do this at least at the beginning of every semester. You could also do it just throughout the day to be able to achieve your daily activities. So when we're talking about specific, this is the who, what, when, where, and why. So this is making it very clear on what needs to be done. Measurable is actively tracking your progress and knowing when it is definitively done. So it's not a question of if you finish this task or not. Achievable is making sure you're making your goals proportionate. So it should be somewhat challenging, but not impossible given the time frame you have and then also the resources that are available to you. It also needs to be relevant and realistic. So the goals you're making should align with your values and your vision for your future. And then also time bound. So it needs to have a specific end date with checkpoints along the way. So we can see that we are making progress towards our goals. So if we look on the right here, we have some examples. So while one of our goals can be to study more, rather than just saying study more, specifically write down, I will review my biology notes for 45 minutes on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m. for the entire semester. See, here we see it's very specific. We know exactly what we're going to be doing, reviewing your biology notes. We see it's measurable, so we can see a specific time here. And the time or the days of the week we're doing it, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m. It's very achievable. It's 45 minutes out of our day. It's 2 days a week. It's nothing crazy. It's relevant to their goals since studying is an important part of college and in order to do well in a class. And then it's also time bound. So again, we see that it's that 45 minutes on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5. Then we have this other example about getting a job. So a lot of us obviously have this goal of getting a job after we graduate college. So rather than just saying, I'll get a job, we need to articulate exactly what we're going to do in order to get this job. So an example of this is I will spend an hour on Sundays at 3:30 browsing Indeed, Handshake, LinkedIn for part-time job listings in the medical field and submit at least 2 completed applications per week until I land a job. This has everything you need for a SMART goal. It's specific here. We see exactly where we're going to be looking for this job and what job it is. Measurable, we have 2 applications a week. We're doing an hour at 3:30 for the time bound. It's realistic. You're able to do your other activities. However, it's still relevant to what we need to be doing in the future to get a job. This is probably my favorite one, is creating a student schedule. So it's a time management style specifically. So if we look here, this is an hour by hour schedule for every day of the week from 7 a.m. until 11 p.m. So we see it's also color coded and for everything we have throughout the day. So at the top here in the orange, we see that we have our classes. And then these are specific times and time blocks so that we are making sure we can't miss this. Then we also have these sections where we put in when we're going to study. So specifically put in where you're going to study and what you are studying. Then what else I like about this schedule is that they put in when they're going to be having lunch and dinner, and you obviously put in breakfast as well, if you're gonna sit down and eat breakfast. This is so we're not kind of glancing over what we need to be doing during those times. So like you do need to be eating lunch and dinner, and sometimes people forget. So putting this in your schedule also just gives you a little bit of a break too, to just enjoy your time eating dinner, whether you watch a show during that, read a book, or just are spending time with your friends or family or roommates. And then also they have their work schedule put into this. And then this is my favorite part, putting in the time that you have to relax. So Saturday, the majority of their day is going to be fun and relaxation, even though they still have to get some stuff done, like volunteering. And then same with Sunday, they still have that family time, they still have relaxation, but they also are scheduling their studying in as well. I also recommend making sure you have these blocks in for when you're going to be driving or traveling to different areas, just so you're not overscheduling yourself that way. The notes category here is also important, as these are some things that may not need to be specifically written into a time period, but it's good reminders for you. So we actually have this sheet available on our SARC website, UCF SARC, under the resources area, under time management. It's called the student schedule builder, and you can either print this out or you can fill it out through Excel and start scheduling your weeks. So this is also an activity that we would typically do, is creating your own schedule. So this is kind of the order that I like to do it. First, class times, since these are not going to change throughout the semester and they're something that you need to be present for. Then I like to do work/volunteer hours. So work and volunteer hours are also things that, especially if you're working a part-time job, you can't exactly miss that. So that's another thing that you need to be on time and present for. Then I like to do the study time here with breaks included. So maybe for every 30 minutes, have a 5-minute break, or for every hour, have a 10-minute break. So you need to be scheduling your study time as well, so you know specifically when and what you're going to be studying. Then include those meal times like I was discussing with your lunch and dinner, as well as your fun and relaxation times. So your SI and tutoring sessions can also be integrated in there. These times are already going to be established for you through our social media pages. You can find that at UCF SARC, or you can find it on our website. But these are something that you can fit in throughout the week. And then any student meetings you have, organizations, clubs, along with other obligations that you have, such as, of course, grocery shopping, doing chores, doctor's appointments, stuff like that. Now, there's also a bunch of other time management systems. So this student schedule here, it's not the only one that you can use. I think what's most important is making sure you're writing your tasks and what you need to be doing down. So this can be done through a planner, a bullet journal, a calendar, a notepad, something as small as a Post-it or to-do list, or even a whiteboard calendar that's posted in your room. Something else I really like is Outlook calendars, Google calendars, Power Planner, Calendly. These all are available online for free, and you can essentially plan your day hour by hour through online. You can color code it, and it connects to your email, especially the Outlook and Google calendars, so you can get email reminders before you have to be somewhere or before you need to start doing a tasks. There's also computer sticky notes. So you can literally just type in sticky note on your computer and you can make those virtual sticky notes for yourself. And then also a billion smartphone apps are out there. One of the biggest ones that I like personally is just the Simple Reminders app in my phone, as well as my clock. I literally will turn on my little clock for when I need to be somewhere and do something. And then Reminders essentially does the same thing. But here are a bunch of other great apps that can be helpful to stick to your schedule that you build for yourself. So here are some time management principles that I like to make sure I'm integrating into whatever time management system that I'm using. So assessing your current use of time and revisiting it every semester. So seeing where you're putting that time, you can do that simply through writing down how you're using your time, and then seeing if it's still going to be effective for next semester, especially when we're going from a summer into fall, or if we're going from our winter break into our spring semester. It can be difficult to change your use of time, but making sure you're reflecting on it and adapting it to what works best for you and is still effective. And then creating that routine or schedule. You can keep it consistent while also making sure it's flexible. So consistent in the sense that you'll be going to these classes every Wednesday or every Tuesday and Thursday at these times. However, if I need to change my routine after that class, then I can. And then tracking those assignments and deadlines in some way. They need to either be written down, included in reminders on your phone. You can see it through the Canvas calendar, some way to make sure you're tracking them. I also like breaking down assignments and study times into smaller sections. So this makes sure it's less overwhelming. So we can either time block or task block. I personally prefer task blocking, so we can do it based on, I'm gonna do this task for hopefully, maybe an hour. But if it goes over that hour, it's okay. I just want to get that task done. So whatever works best for you. Whereas time blocking is, I'm gonna work on this task for an hour. Even if I don't finish it, I'll figure out another time in the day or tomorrow to work on it. Then make sure you're putting in those break times. Those are going to be essential to success, because if we're not integrating break times, you are going to be experiencing burnout, just because as a college student, there is a lot to get done throughout the day. And then I know I harped on this already, but using those reminders, even if it's just a sticky note somewhere. Avoid multitasking as well. This can be very hard to avoid, especially if we are wanting to get everything done at once. But if you're focusing on one task at a time, typically this is actually going to go so much quicker for you. And then making sure you're addressing potential underlying reasons that you're not able to get everything done. So really assessing yourself for maybe symptoms of depression, anxiety, ADHD, and reaching out specifically to our counseling and psychological services here at UCF if you think you might be experiencing something with this. And then there's also developing your own style. So not necessarily what works for me will work for you. So this goes into reflecting on how your current use of time is working, since everything here is really just a starting point. So I think integrating the principles is really important that I just talked about. But if you feel like you can't plan every second of your life, that is so okay. Maybe just start by incorporating reminders or writing down all your tasks for the day. Because right now in college, it is a time to be flexible. It's a time to be creative. So reflect and experiment on what works for you and revisit those goals to spark that motivation again. The last thing I want to harp on is utilizing campus resources that you're already paying for. So a lot of these resources aren't going to be available to you once you leave UCF. So really capitalizing on them now is something I think is extremely important. So some of these is absolutely the SARC services we have. Free peer tutoring, free supplemental instruction, free academic consultations where you can develop your skills such as time management if you feel like you need more help through our website, book that session. And then all of these other amazing resources, if you type in UCF student resources, there will be a billion that pop up. Here are just a couple. Knight's Pantry is amazing, especially if you're experiencing food insecurity, along with student accessibility services, TRIO, all of these others as well. So that is the end of our presentation today. I hope you have enjoyed it and can take something away to help you improve throughout your time management throughout your college career.